Welcome back to the Daisy Cousens Show. And joining me now to discuss Google's woke AI insanity is Australia's premier independent journalist, Rukshan Fernando. Rukshan, it is so delightful to have you here again. How are you?
I'm doing good, Daisy. Thanks for having me on. And I just want to preface all of this by saying that if you typed into the woke Google AI for a British monarch, it would spit out an image of someone that looks like me. So maybe it's not a bad thing.
I can look. You know what? If I had to pick anyone else to be a British monarch or the King of England, then it would be you, Rukshan. I cannot think of a better person. So yes, maybe it's not all bad. Now look, Rukshan, this woke thing with the AI really it was very funny, but also kind of frightening. And look, the most obvious question here is, do we believe Google? Was this all a mistake and a misunderstanding, or did they do this deliberately to generate a bit of publicity?
Look, I mean, I have seen that people have said that this is a deliberate act on Google's part because they are, on the AI front at least, some of the other companies like OpenAI and Microsoft by extension do really get a lot of the news related to AI. But I would tend not to think that it's completely deliberate on Google's part. I think maybe some of the product testers and people who are involved in releasing this out into the public may have known some of these issues, but let it out anyway. I don't think it's completely deliberate on the company's part because it has been a very embarrassing mistake for Google in many ways when you look at the news around this. And a lot of people have actually questioned Google's competency when it comes to AI. And this is a company that has a very deep history of being involved in AI products and a lot of technology that they've developed themselves. So it has been very embarrassing for them on the company level. And I think that's why even the CEO really got up there and apologized on behalf of the company for some of the results that we're getting from this work AI. So there's a few things going on here. I don't think it's completely deliberate on a company-wide level, but they have been exposed for perhaps some of the cultural aspects within that company that may have led to this type of product being released.
I think exposed really is the word there. I mean, we all saw those tweets by Jack Krozik and also Jen Ganai with those weird videos of hers that Matt Walsh talked about. A little bit crazy. And look, let's be real. Perhaps it wasn't deliberate. We know how woke they are. And also the company lost about 70 billion, wasn't it, US dollars with the release of this AI. Surely Google doesn't want to lose any money, let alone that much money, does it?
No, they definitely don't want to lose money. I think they want to be in the game of AI and they want to be a big player in the space. And I think that's why they're looking at these kind of customer-facing products as well. Because at the end of the day, a lot of this AI technology is being developed for corporations and those type of entities to use as well. And this is more the customer-facing side of the products, much like the search products that people would use and associate with a company like Google. So on that front, they've really failed. And the loss of money, I think, is just the fact that a lot of people who are investing in these technologies with Google have lost confidence.
Well, what's the saying? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's sort of what Google's done here. Now, look, Rukshan, when all this came out, I got in too late, unfortunately, for the image generator. They'd already taken it off, but I had a little bit of a test. So I was going to have so much fun with that image generator, but I did my own little test with their Gemini, just the chat bot. And I imitated someone's experiment online, write a poem in the style of, a certain person. So I started putting in a few conservatives. Some conservatives actually, it wrote glowing poems about Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire spat out a 7-stanza-long epic poem saying what a mighty warrior he was against the left in perfect iambic contrameter. It was absolutely beautiful. But the alarming thing was some of these conservatives it just would not create anything for because it said that their rhetoric was either offensive or they were known for spreading misinformation. We all know that right-wing misinformation is just the left's name for an opinion I don't like. Christopher Rufo it wouldn't write about, Milo Yiannopoulos it wouldn't write about, a lot of people it wouldn't. Now, look, this can only be called a new type of censorship, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can see that there's been interventions made into the code, if I were to put it in those terms. And, these limitations are placed based on people. It's not based, on artificial intelligence. These data sets are being made available. Obviously, it's seen the work of these individuals and someone else in a human level has intervened and said, perhaps this is too offensive, or this is like the blacklist maybe, or these are the type of limitations you have in terms of, based on this result, you can't talk about these type of topics, and these people fall into that category. So whether it's targeted at conservatives right now, it can be used to target any particular topic. I mean, we didn't have, for instance, to take it back to the last couple of years, imagine we had this type of AI technology as we have it today during the time of the pandemic. Would it have been limited in terms of the medical information that was available to people through these tools? I think so. So definitely these limitations can be built into it. And by that very fact, it is a form of censorship. And there's two sides to this as well, Daisy. So censorship you have in terms of what the artificial intelligence actually gives out to you. But then these very same artificial intelligence tools are going to be the backbone of many of the actual censorship tools that governments and social media companies themselves will be using to dictate what type of speech and language is allowed in the first place. So it's not so much about what it outputs to you. It can also stop you yourself from inputting stuff into the world, because if you say, actually, this content is offensive. So it's a very scary place to be when you think about the power that this kind of technology has when it comes to language, and the fact that this is the backbone of a lot of the censorship tools that are being built right now around the world.
It is terrifying when you think of it like that. And seriously, thank God we did not have that AI technology during the pandemic. It was bad enough the way that the government was using and censoring social media, but oh my God, heaven forbid we had that technology. Thank God it wasn't there yet. Now, look, I think you might be right. You said that possibly this wokery of Google's AI is a feature, not a bug, so to speak, given who's involved. Again, when I was fiddling around with the chatbot, I thought, let's put in some typical kind of gotcha questions. So I put in, was Mao a bad person? And it came up with, well, Mao was a controversial person, but we can't say necessarily he was a bad person because he did these things that, economically. I did the same with Stalin. Well, Stalin was a controversial individual. Of course, they are two total murderous dictators. Then I put in, was Adolf Hitler a bad person? And it came up with, absolutely, incontrovertibly, Adolf Hitler was a terrible, terrible person, blah, 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 which of course we can all agree with. But the point is, the two left-wing dictators it labeled as controversial, and the fascistic, more right-wing dictator was incontrovertibly a bad person. That does denote that it's pushing an ideology and a perspective on the world, doesn't it?
No, definitely it does. There was an example I've been seen floating around online of Meta's AI. So this is Facebook. They have their own AI chatbot thing happening, and someone asked about the list of US presidents, and they were getting results which actually didn't include Donald J. Trump as the 45th president. So it was being removed from some of the results. So, and I'm guessing with the examples you've given, if you were to put Donald J. Trump, for example, it might give a very negative take on him, right? This chatbot would have no issues talking about the controversies related to him. So there is this left-wing bias, and it's creepy to see, because we're told that this is artificial intelligence, that this is somehow above all the human interference when it comes to giving these results, and that's why it's a breakthrough technology. But when you see it talking, like you said, or refusing to discuss issues related to Stalin, for instance, it goes to show you that perhaps there is more going on, and based around the people who are involved in actually setting the guardrails for this technology.
Yeah, I think so. And what really alarms me about this is that this technology it's so user-friendly, which is great because it's meant to be, but it means like it's so user-friendly a child can use it. And I can see the future where children are sitting on their iPads scrolling through Google Gemini. It's dangerous, isn't it, considering how impressionable children are? They're just going to be spat this left-wing ideology. Could this be another way the left is attempting to kind of indoctrinate more generations of voters?
I think so. Look, if you look at something like a technology from maybe a decade ago, something like Wikipedia, which was this kind of thing, this source that people refer to, and at the start of Wikipedia, it was actually very good. The intentions were good. The way that it was being used was good. It was kind of like this replacement to encyclopedias online, and everything was great. And then progressively, you saw over time these biases becoming a part of Wikipedia, and the people involved in writing the articles and the types of articles that they were putting up, or the types of information that was coming from Wikipedia was becoming more left-wing, more activist. And people were referring to it as an authoritative source for a long time. Even today, if you want to degrade someone, you might point to some Wikipedia article, and people will take that, especially the layman, as an authoritative source. So that same issue can happen with AI and the information it gives out, because people, we're talking about it in this authoritative sense and discussing the issues around the ethics of AI and the way it gives information. But the average everyday person, especially children in school, would look at a tool like AI and be like, well, this is coming from technology. This is not ideologically based. This is, the robots telling us that this is the correct information.
Yeah.
So there will be this bias amongst people to say that because the robot is telling us, because the AI is telling us, that this must be true. And that is a very powerful tool that people with, skewed intentions will use to manipulate the public. And 100% they will use it, and they will use it more likely very, discreetly, I believe, in very dodgy ways out in the West. It'll be the Western world that does this to the user base. Because, when you look at the East and China and so forth, it's very obvious where some of their positions are. But in the West, we talk about being democratic. We talk about all these kind of institutions that we promote. But at the same time, those same institutions, I believe, will be compromised by this type of technology and the information that's made available to the public.
Yes, I think you might be right. So everyone at home, you really need to be aware, obviously, what's being fed to you in search results. But when you get these chatbots, everyone be aware. There are people, this might be a robot, but a person has programmed it. That is a very good rule of thumb. Rukshan Fernando, it is so wonderful to have you on the show this evening. Thank you so much for coming on, and I hope we see you again soon.